Now that the Fed has lightened up a bit about raising rates this week, the U.S. stock market is now looking for a trade deal with China this weekend. That's what we're talking about in this week's edition of Liquid Options TV, a weekly show covering the U.S. stock market geared towards option traders with a new episode posted each week right here on YouTube. So we got all that and more coming right up. So before we get started, you should know that everything presented in this video and on this channel is for informational purposes only, and that I am not a financial advisor of any kind. I'd also like to point out the new community tab on the channel, which is pretty cool. You can see here on the homepage, you click on community. And what this does is allow me to post charts and articles and thoughts on the market in between the videos, and it shows up in the YouTube feed. So be sure to subscribe to the channel and click the little bell when you can, and we'll get to talk about some charts you can like and comment. We can have some discussions in between the weekly video. And if you're interested in supporting the Vertical Spread Options Trading channel, consider becoming a patron by clicking this button on the homepage of the site. And patrons, in case you don't know, patrons get access to exclusive option trading education, strategies, and backtests. So I'd love it if you join me over on Patreon. So let's go ahead and flip over to the charts here. So I want to start real quick just talking about Thanksgiving week. I did not do a video last week because of the Thanksgiving holiday. We had really kind of a nasty week, and you can see with this little yellow arrow, that was the Monday of Thanksgiving week. We had a huge drop, a gap down on Tuesday, a little bit of a recovery on Wednesday. And then on the half day Friday, we kind of bottomed out here. So for those in the technical camp of the double bottom, we have reached double bottom. Right now, to me, if you look at the Bollinger Bands, these are standard Bollinger Bands. Really what we're looking at is basically a range-bound market, but there is definitely some momentum here. I'm not going to lie, on this rally this week, the way that I kind of look at the Bollinger Bands, there's really 3 points to trade off of. There's the upper, middle, and lower band. And being that the trend was relatively down, we took a small short above the middle band heading into the Fed announcement. Now, hindsight, that was a bad idea because Powell totally changes language from the time before, which is, I've been doing this a long time, and usually they're very subtle and mild about how they change the language, and he really changed it, which really sent the market up, and enough to sort of make us realize that, okay, that rates aren't really going to be a problem. Are they going to hike in December? Probably, but that seems like that's probably going to be it. So now that we've cleared these levels and we're trading above the band, at this point, we could trade any sort of continued momentum, which we may get from a Chinese trade deal. And if we do get that on Monday, we get some huge gap up, crazy rally. At that point, we could trade off the upper band. Now, if the volatility starts to expand again to the upside, I'm not going to try to short that on day one. That's something we can monitor over for a few days. The other sort of scenario, if you will, coming out of the weekend is that the market does nothing, which actually is pretty likely. I mean, if they decide that they're just going to continue to work together, then yeah, you may see a small rally. But if they decide to punt it for whatever reason, then you could just see some sideways action. If for some reason there's a huge uproar about no deal, and what I'm going to be looking for is a move back down and potentially to retest the lower band, I actually think that they're going to come up with a deal, and simply for the reason that I believe Trump uses the stock market as some kind of a scorecard. He ripped the Fed a few weeks ago about raising rates and it's causing the stock market. The Fed basically said, all right, well, I'll change my language. So now the stock market's back up. This Chinese trade deal really has the power to put the market in the green for the year or in the red for the year. I forget exactly where we started out, but we're pretty close. If we do retest the lows and get another sell-off into December, it's totally going to be on Trump, and I don't think he's going to let that happen. So I think he's going to do something to get some sort of deal done. And regardless of what the details of the deal are, it actually doesn't matter. It's just the uncertainty out of the market that, okay, there's something going on, something happening, and I think we can rally from there. In my video from a couple weeks ago, when we were talking about, is there a stock market bottom, the biggest thing I was looking for is the Russell 2000. We're going to look at the IWM to really lead the way. And again, I'll just sort of reiterate on 926. Let me put an arrow in here. The Russell was the first thing to break lower. And if we go back to like the SPY, 926 is right here. The Russell let us down because of the Chinese trade, tariff talk and all that stuff, because it actually affects American goods more. So the Russell kind of, gave up the ghost a lot sooner, almost a week sooner than the SPY or the S&P 500. So now that, if, like I said, if the trade deal comes into play, I would be looking for IWM to lead the way up. If that doesn't happen and IWM continues to trail, I think that's more likely for a range bound scenario. And that point, I may want to play some, from an options perspective, maybe some bear call spreads. Let's go back to SPX, maybe up in this level. That will not happen on Monday. We're going to give it a couple days, but that's kind of, where I'm at and what I'm looking for. If there's no deal, I would look for the Russell to move lower. And again, you could still sell bear call spreads, but you could bring them in a little bit and look for that move lower. So I think there's going to be a lot of action next week. And we really just kind of, I hate to say it, I told this to the, members over on Patreon. It's, we're kind of in a wait and see mode, and that's basically what we're going to do. I do want to point out one more chart before we go. And that's Apple. Apple has, I think, a lot riding on this Chinese trade deal. And I just want you to look at the position of it. It's been kind of giving up the ghost here and is really sort of still near the lows. It's starting to, the Bollinger Band is starting to curve up here, meaning we're getting a sort of a retracement. The upper band is moving lower, so the volatility of the drop is definitely slowing down. But look at this middle band. The middle band, by the way, is the 20-day simple moving average. And it's not even close to that. So if we get a rip-roaring rally on Monday, I would want to go long Apple. I haven't really looked at the options yet on it. I mean, they have good options, but I don't know if I'd want to just buy straight calls or sell, put spreads about a week out and let this rally sort of see through. I think Apple will play a huge catch-up to the market. Again, if we go back to the broad market here, the broad market has a flattening 20-day moving average. So we're at least sort of trading sideways. Apple's still in a downtrend, and this could reverse if it turns out Apple is not going to, have tariffs on their iPhones and all these other things. So that's something to look forward to. If you look at the NASDAQ real quick, it's starting to flatten out a little bit as well. And another way to play that is if a long Apple is really to go long NASDAQ, because it's a little bit behind. So that's what I'm looking at heading into next week. And by the way, if you enjoyed this video, let me know. Hit the like button. And I'd really love to hear your comments on the market, what you think is going to happen if you put it in the comments of the video. And if you know other traders, it'd be cool if you could share it too. So if you have any questions, let me know. You guys have a great weekend, and we're going to see what happens on Monday. Thanks a lot.